Welcome to the XY Advisor podcast, where it's our goal to help you become the best financial advisor possible and drive the positive evolution of financial advice.
On today's episode, Ben chats with Rachel O'Connor, advisor and mum to two young boys who started her own advice business just 3 months ago. Yep, you heard right. So how on earth does Rachel juggle 2 kids under 2 and a brand new business? And what went into the planning phase before jumping headfirst into self-employed life?
As you scale your advice business, are you frustrated with the amount of compliance, paperwork, and staffing issues? Virtual Business Partners specializes in helping financial services firms in 4 areas: admin, paraplanning, bookkeeping, and marketing. Virtual Business Partners work with you to get your business offshore ready. This includes identifying what tasks need to be done locally and what functions can be managed offshore. Advisors find they can reduce back office costs by between 50 and 75% and significantly improve their task turnaround times. For more information, go to virtualbusinesspartners.com.au.
All right, so I was going to say Wilco, but I feel like it,
yeah.
yes.
O'Connor?
The Conster? Oh, that's actually not good.
That's not great. Yeah, no, it doesn't probably go so well.
Let's stick with Rach.
Rachel.
Rach, thank you very much for joining us for this Plan, Produce, Profit series. Today we're talking all about planning, and we're just having a chat just before, and I've recently had 2 kids.
Yeah, 2 boys.
One in 2017, one in 2018,
yeah.
And in 2019 you've given birth
to the business.
The business, boom.
Yeah.
So 3 months in, so
yeah,
interesting times. You have the added complication of juggling a 2-year-old and a 10-month-old at the same time. So I'm sure we'll spend a little bit of time talking about that.
Yeah, it's pretty busy.
But yeah, thanks very much for joining us, and yeah, great to have you.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, it's great to be here.
So 3 months in, look, I'm keen to get into how you've gone about planning your business. I know that because we caught up, it's been 6 months ago or something, when you're in that planning stage. So you've been giving it a thought for a while. So I'm keen to sort of unpack that and see how you approach things, what's happened, what happened to the plan when the hit the ground, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, a couple of quick ones for you. Time, but we just covered that. So you started the business
3 months ago. Yeah.
3 months ago.
15th of April. Yeah.
Cool. And your team?
Just me. I'm the team.
Flying solo, great.
Yeah, that's
did the same thing for the first 12 or 11 months of my business, and I think you sort of need to until you figure out your feet to a degree.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So. And
what's the time that you're spending on the business? Because clearly you've got some pretty significant family commitments.
Yeah. So officially I'm working 3 days a week. So the boys are in daycare 3 days a week. But then there's a fair bit of spillover with, I'm on my email every day. So the boys' nap time on Monday, Tuesday is also work time. And then at the moment there's a bit of Saturday, Sunday work going on as well.
Great. And your progression, so how long have you been advising? I've
been advising for, I think it's about 8 years. I've been an advisor and about 10 years in the industry.
Cool. And so who's your ideal client and what do you deliver?
So ideal client, I guess, would be someone with a bit of complexity, someone that appreciates and values advice, someone that wants to delegate. And what do I deliver? I guess trying to deliver a comprehensive service covering all of the important stuff, cash flow, budgeting, bit of super, tax, insurance, the usual.
All the things, yeah. So pure FP, though, no mortgage broking, nothing like that, right?
No mortgage. Yeah, pure financial planning.
Cool. So tell us, before we get into the question, I've got a few questions here around how you've gone about planning your business, but tell us a bit about your story, your journey, and how you've ended up where we are now.
Yeah, so I started actually as an accountant. I'm a chartered accountant.
Right.
So I did accounting at uni, did a few months of accounting, and then realised pretty quickly.
It all makes sense now.
I shouldn't admit to that. No, so then I realised pretty quickly that I kind of wanted to be more in the like forward-looking stuff and what's happened in the past. So I moved across to advice. Worked at a couple of firms over the years. Last 3 years, I've been at a firm, sort of boutique advisory, looking after high net worth clients, which was great. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, on the Fits, we were office buddies.
Yeah, that's right.
So they kicked us out.
Yep. And then I had Billy in 2017, and while I was on maternity leave, I was approached by a friend who had just recently started his financial planning business, had then ended up going into something else and basically wanted someone to run his little book, which was at that stage about 14 clients. We spoke about it, but it wasn't the right time for me. But in starting that conversation, talking to him about how he'd gone about it, I started to think, maybe I could do this. And being on maternity leave, you've got a lot of time to think. Your hands are always busy, but your brain is relatively idle at times. So just sort of started ticking over, and then trying to go back to work with Billy being, I went back when he was about 6 months old, and the juggling and sort of the compromises that you had to make to kind of keep the career going with the baby at home. It just started to become more and more. I just started to think I'd really like to have a lot more control over how I spend my time. I probably underestimated how hard I'd be working. I think I had some delusions. You warned me. You did warn me. So I'm definitely working more than I realised, or more than I initially anticipated I would be at this stage. But I'm loving it because the hours are on my terms, and the things that are important to me I'm able to do. So I can, do the swimming lessons, and I can do the dinners and things like that, and I can outsource some of the things that I don't love so much, like the cleaning.
Yeah.
That's kind of, been the journey. So then all of this was kind of plans coming together. Found out I was pregnant with my second son, and so kind of thought, maybe 2 young kids means I should put this on the back burner for a little while. But then another friend who's an accountant approached me because he had been talking to the other friend who had wanted me to work in his business, and found out that I had this idea that I might like to start a business. And he was looking for somewhere to refer some of his clients. And so he was really keen and really encouraged me and gave me a bit of a shove along, and it seemed like a good opportunity. And I thought, well, is there ever really the perfect time to kind of take a plunge and take a bit of a risk? So just thought, why the hell not?
Awesome. I think all great businesses will probably build on that motto.
Yeah.
But it's funny how you can get that one thing and it spurs the thought, and then you start to think more and more. I know that I was the same when I never really thought I'd start a business.
Neither did I.
And then I was working at another company, and they were like, well, you can become a partner in the business. I was like, that'd be pretty cool. Like, get a bit of security and have a bit more control or something. Maybe work a bit less. I'm working my board shorts. A little bit. I know that's but it got the wheels turning, and that didn't work. It didn't work out with your thing as well. But then I was like, I'll start. I think I want to do that. Yeah. I'll plan a business, and I'll start in 12 months. And then I was like, go to work. I'm like, I don't like having to wear socks. I started 9 months. And then it just got shorter and shorter. And then I feel like headed in my notice about 2 weeks later, I think. And from there. So
you were from having the sort of initial spark of an idea to quitting your job. Were you 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was about that.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought about it. I was trying to buy into the business for a year. So we started talking about it. We started working through it. We engaged accountants to help with the structuring and how it was going to work, and it was going to be like a, get some, earn some type setup. And we spent a fair bit of time and money as well, which is annoying on working through this thing. And then at the same time, the guy that I was working with, he hired his buyer's agent, and then they started not recommending stuff I thought was pretty average, and they were expecting that I would endorse the recommendations because it was like those clients, and I was like, oh no, I can't do that. And then it became very difficult for me to stay there. So I had the idea, I'm going to go do it myself. And then I thought I'll plan it, I'll save money, I'll do the things. But then it was just, I made a joke about socks, but it was really those other things. And I've got my clients coming to me going, is this good? And I'm going, oh, I can't say yes. It was difficult. It's difficult to say no, but I had to help them figure out that they should say no. So, but it all happened pretty quickly. Thankfully, with some good support from the guys at the Wealth Network and Dean and Paul, and that made it a lot easier. But it all happened pretty quickly. I was on a panel with Jess Brady, who you work with, your office buddies with now, and she come from BDM land, and they were talking about how they planned their business. I had her on this series as well, and they spend all this time and run the focus groups and do the things and save the money and do the thing. I'm like, but it works without doing all of that as well, and you sort of figure it out on the fly. So there are a lot of different ways to go about it. But
well, I basically planned it like so I went on maternity leave with Finn, and then spent the 6 months with Finn being little, planning it in basically setting it up in that time. Yeah. So that took about 6 months.
Well, okay, cool. Well, that was my next question, was like, how have you gone about that process for figuring out, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Who are you going to work with? Yeah. So it's all done between naps?
Yeah, basically all done during that time. I just started. Where did I start? I started with my first couple of things that I worked on were probably not even important at all, but like the name and the logo, which I think is sort of totally not important, but at the time it felt very important. And then trying to find a dealer group. So trying to set up during the Royal Commission.
Yeah.
It was all like, every night you're watching the news and the headlines were, pretty alarming and stuff like that. So I felt like I wanted to do a lot of DD on going with which dealer group I'd go with. So that was a big one for me.
On your license with?
Madison Financial Group.
Right. How do they go?
They're good. They're great. So far, so good. No, they've been really good. For me, it was about the culture and the compliance framework was important to me. Like I'm the kind of person I like to follow the rules. I'm happy to follow the rules. But
that's good. That's very good. Financial advice.
But I think the tricky thing with all of the rules that we work with in financial advice is you can be doing your absolute best and fall down in a very obscure way.
Yes.
There's a lot of regulation that we have to be across, and so having the right support to navigate all of that was important to me.
Great. Okay, so you got the name, the pretty logo, the dealer group.
Yeah, got the dealer group, and then what came next? Then basically, I just was sort of holding off this friend of mine, the accountant, like, you just got to let me be for a little bit because my baby's still really tiny. And I'm not going to start checking on your clients until he's 6 months old. And so I just sort of firmly kept to that.
Yeah.
And he kept sending me through details. I was like, oh, why don't you just talk to this person? And I was like, no, looking after the baby. Yeah. And then, basically as soon as Finn was 6 months old, he went into daycare for a couple of days a week, 2 days a week.
Yep.
And that's when I started calling all those people that my friend had been asking me to call.
Right. Awesome. And so what went into, because you've been, you've done a lot of work in the investment advice space, and then some solid time working with, a whole bunch of different types of people from there. How did you go about planning what you were going to do and how you were going to do it?
Yeah. So I guess so you're talking like investment strategy?
No, more from an advice perspective. So like is the process, have you figured out exactly what the structured process is yet, or are you?
I guess I'm still kind of working that out, and it's been a little bit, so the clients that are coming through from the accountant are mainly SMSFs, or some are SMSFs, but they're kind of in that kind of retiree or pre-retiree type
Right.
age group.
Yeah.
So that has been, that's sort of one group of clients. But then I guess where I have had more of an interest and more of a passion is with kind of our age group and doing the stuff that makes our life great and easy and things like that. So that's what actually interests me. So I guess at the moment I'm kind of working in two groups of clients.
Yeah.
So from a process point of view, I was really keen on having a good platform. I wanted everything on platform. I don't want to be trying to manage direct equities and having loose bank accounts around the place and stuff like that. I wanted to have that that kind of base to plug everything into. Makes it easier from an admin point of view, and also that translates to what you can charge. Making it even though you pay the clients pay the fee for that admin platform.
Yeah.
If it makes it easier for me to do my job, then my fees are more competitive. So, plus I also wanted the business to be something with the kids. It needed to be flexible. I needed to know that it could all be online and in one place, knowing that I'd be in a shared office and things like that. I was not going to have a mailing address and piles of paper and stuff like that. So it needed to be fairly streamlined, and that's where I thought that using a platform would make sense.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah. It's funny. I had Darren Johns came in he's the AFA Practice of the Year, won a couple of years back. Okay. Total legend. He runs his business over on the beach. It's pretty small. They work with something like 100 clients, and he's got a couple of staff, and but he's just keen to keep it small. They work in a small office, and he came in here, which we're doing this podcast with WeWork, where our office is, and he looked in the office and goes, "Where are all the files?" He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it to the point that after he left, he sent me an email the next day and said, "How much do I have to pay for your wife to come into our business and help us to get rid of all of our files?" I was like, "You can't afford it." I can't afford her if I can't income.
No. She's probably busy enough for now.
Got a few things she's juggling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a big thing. If you know that you're going to be sometimes logging on from the lounge room, and then other days you're going to be in a shared office, and then other days you're going to be in the client's office, or sometimes I'm in the accountant's office. Obviously, I'm not going to have a whole lot of paper files that I'm wanting to contend with. So having that efficiency and this streamlined business, I guess, is really important. Wanting to absolutely, wherever possible, do online applications and minimise the print and sign and scan, all of that sort of stuff. So I think as well that's what clients these days are kind of expecting of us.
Definitely.
So
it makes it easier. I know that the guys, just from an environmental point of view, people look at the stack of forms. We just transition our banking providers to all paperless, and it's just so much better. Plus it costs you less as well. Work in a co-working space, it's unless you're printing yourself, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. So that all helps.
Yeah.
So tell us. So you've got your kids are still super young, and you're working. So you're working 3 days a week.
3 days a week they're in daycare. Yeah.
And how do you manage that? How do you manage that juggle with your clients, with finding the times? I know for me it's hard enough working, trying to find time to work on the business instead of in the business, but also just the keeping up with client, the emails and inquiries and phone calls and stuff.
Yeah. So the answer is it's tricky at times. But so I've got the 3 days that the boys are in daycare, and then on Monday and Tuesday when they're not in daycare, they're both, because they're young, they do both have their afternoon nap. So 12:30 to 2:30 generally, if all things going to plan,
the stars align,
the boys sleep. And so that's my opportunity to get on their emails. And so from my client's point of view, I don't even know if any of them know that I work 3 days a week. Some of them might now. So I am able to be responsive every day, every business day.
Yeah.
The other way that I'm juggling it, I guess, I've got my husband very much on board. So he does a lot of the heavy lifting as well. And then just delegating as much as I can. But like I said, there are some things I don't need to be doing. I don't clean the house. I've got a cleaner. Things like that where it doesn't necessarily bring me any joy. It doesn't, serve the boys to necessarily for me to be doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what I delegate.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And what have you learned from it? Like from an efficient, someone all about like efficiency and productivity. Is there any good hacks that have come out of that?
Actually, just in the last couple of weeks, so like 3 weeks ago, like my inbox was exploding. I was just frazzled as, and like the more work that was starting to come through, the more I was getting stressed and just like clicking through emails, but not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to a friend who got me absolutely whipped into shape, and she's like basically, so I'm using my calendar more to like block out times, making sure there's nothing in my inbox, just deleting everything, and attaching it to like the calendar appointment, which, say I'm working on something for a client, rather than having 5 emails in my inbox. If I've set aside 3 hours tomorrow to do that, then I attach the 5 emails to that and then delete them out of my inbox. Yeah. That's making a big difference. So that I feel like my head is a lot more organised because I know like if something comes in, I allocate the time to it. I know that time is set aside.
Yeah.
And then I don't think about it again until the reminder comes into my calendar that I've got to do that thing.
Yeah.
So that I just feel like it's freed up a lot of brain space, bandwidth for me.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I'm only 3 months in. So one of the things I'm really conscious of is not growing too quickly.
Yeah.
So being only part-time, I'm not going to shoot the lights out in year one. I just have set myself a target so that, hopefully I can break even and maintain some sanity. Yeah. And just build from there. So the goal is to really try to constrain it, keep it part-time until the boys start kindy, and then from there I hope to expand it to a full-time gig.
Good. I think it's probably good to go slow when you're building the foundations, because I know for us that it's easy when I had me for a year and then Yang, my wife, come in another year, and you can just sort of figure that stuff out when it's just like just you or just you and something like your partner. Yeah. But then when things go, like when you build momentum, then you go, holy crap, it really highlights the any gaps and or any bottlenecks as well. So hopefully you can streamline those things too.
Yeah. I'm finding like at the moment there's it is as much planning as I did. You can only plan so much. Like some of the things you just have to get on the ground and do. Yeah. And there's so much as well that I'm doing that I never appreciated was actually being done by someone when I worked in a team. Like when you've got a team of people that are helping you to, look after all of those clients, like things that have to be done that are absolutely essential that you never notice if your support team are doing a good job. Yeah. Those have been the things that have kind of thrown me. Like, how do you create an invoice for a client? Yeah. I didn't know how to do that until it didn't even occur to me that I needed to do that until I, got started. So like there have been some things where I'm just learning as I go. Fake it till you make it. So. Yeah.
I still don't know how to send an invoice. So
I can show you.
I have an amazing bookkeeper. Maybe we'll do that lesson afterwards. But my bookkeeper's a boss, so she does all that stuff for us. I think it all helps. So. Yeah. And so you talk about the learning since actually, like, when you hit, it's great to have a great plan, the analogy of the battle plan, but you know the least when you're planning, and then when you hit the ground, it's a different story. So I know it's only 3 months, so I'm not sure how much is there, but what's changed since you kicked off? Like,
what's changed since I kicked off? I mean, I think it's all still as I imagined it when I kicked off. Yeah. I don't think that really a lot has changed at this point. Okay. Good. I'd
like to get you back into another
year. So. Yeah. I mean, for now it is it's essentially kind of like a two-pronged approach, looking after the accountant's clients and then trying to build up my own string, my own kind of flow of clients off my own kind of work as well. So that's the great thing is I've got kind of like the training wheels on with that accountant sending me the business while I figure out how to drum up a bit of my own business. So yeah.
And how's that process going? Because you didn't have to do that
No, I didn't have to do that at Fitz. So that is I'm still trying to figure out how it's going to all work. But at the moment, I'm getting involved with Ladies Finance Club.
Oh yeah.
So
Girl power.
yes, there's huge appetite for it.
We need a man's finance club.
Yeah. Oh, the whole world is a man's finance club.
Yeah.
That's probably a podcast for another day. But yeah, so ladies finance club. So I'm hoping that by kind of given my time and speaking at these sorts of events, potentially that could be a way of generating some leads. So our first event was on the 7th of August. So I will keep you posted.
Is it women only or?
Anyone's welcome. But the event is Ladies Finance Club, putting on Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh, that sounds like right up my alley.
If you want to sit in a room with 80 highly intelligent women, it's probably not so bad.
That was only about tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But I think that those doing those presentations in all seriousness, even if you never got a client out of it, it forces you to really hone your message. So I know that I've done a lot of workshops since before I started the business and since I kicked off, and I found that because you've said the same thing, like you say it in meetings and doing meetings with clients and strategy meetings and advice meetings and you engagement meetings and intro meetings, you learn stuff. But when you have to do it at scale, you've got to be more succinct, you've got to be more on point, and you've got to be more engaging because you've got to engage everyone. So I've found that to be enormously beneficial in just shaping the key messages and how to wrap them up in a way, that is engaging and keeps people interested as well. Yeah, well, I'm working on it at the moment, and I don't know how it's going yet. I haven't really got any feedback, but we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. Just take heaps of photos and put them on the internet everywhere.
Right.
That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. That again, if you never get a person from a workshop, that's fine as long as you post about it everywhere. And then we get a heap of people from the broader networks that they see the stuff. And I think there are so many people out there these days that people see you and they're like, there's your business, you make a post, okay, there's you. They see you in a room full of people, they go, oh, maybe Rachel's not crazy. And they see you in another room of people and another room of people and another room of people. They're going, people are throwing things at you. So they're going, oh, well, less crazy. Each time less crazy. And then they go, well, she's actually probably not crazy at all. Maybe I should talk to her. So
good advice. All right. So lots of photos and put them all over social media.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's been a big one for us. We get a lot of business out of that sort of stuff because people connect with the message that's there. So yeah. So tell me so you talked. So not too much has changed, but is there anything that you found that worked that you didn't think would work?
Probably the opposite. It's more like things are not working that I thought would work in some instances.
Well, tell me that. That was my next question.
Okay. Well, I mean, the things that are working are things that I sort of expected to work. But I guess, some of the things that I'm still trying to figure out. So I thought that one example, like cash flow and budgeting, I thought would be really critical for people our age group, right? But I haven't yet. And so I've, looked at sort of all the technology that can help you kind of provide that service. But even the people that need it, I'm finding are not really engaging with it, or the people that need it the most are the least likely to engage with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's one that and I feel like that's the stuff that living within your means and getting your budget right, particularly at our age, that's what's going to make you rich. Investing is the sexy stuff that we like to talk about at the pub, but it's sort of, the boring stuff that's actually going to make a difference, I think, in your life, particularly at our age.
And the painful stuff.
Yeah, and that's the hard stuff. That's the stuff that's really hard to stick with.
Funny,
so it's actually, I guess I'm still trying to figure out how to get the people that need that sort of advice to really take it. So
I find that's funny. It's like a gym membership, and I'm probably a perfect candidate for that. You have a gym membership, but you don't go. Or, why we have an obesity epidemic in the country, because people know that they should eat properly and exercise and do the right things and be healthy, but they don't because it's like chips taste good and, Netflix is awesome.
Yeah, totally.
So I think it's an ongoing challenge that we see, and we find that when I started my business, I was like, oh, this model is great. Like, clearly I'm biased, right? So it's trying to build a model, and the clients are so engaged and everyone's so happy, and they're going, oh yeah, I want that property and that holiday and that thing, and I want to retire early and I want to have all that money that you say that I can have if I do these things. Yeah. But when you hit the ground, then people go, oh yeah, but I want that. I want to go to the pub, and then I still want to have Uber Eats, and then of course I need that handbag or the suit and
my hair costs like $300 every 6 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just the constant sort of excuses and reasons, and ultimately, like, sometimes, and I still have a few clients where we just have to say, like, guys, like, what are you doing? Like, there's nothing. There's no solution for this. So I was actually talking to a client just yesterday, and they got a lot of debt, and then they started making some really good progress with their debt. Yeah. And then we got an accountant for their bills, and I noticed that they've been spending it up on all the shops. And I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, And then
how do they respond to that?
They're like, "Oh yeah, we know. We know we shouldn't." And I was like, "Well, you're just starting to do this work." I was like, now we're going to have to take money from your savings that you've just built up, that you're so happy that you've built up, to put into this account. Otherwise, this account's going to run out of money. I was like, I suggest you cut up that card. And she went and got the card and cut it up on the phone call, and then sent me a photo of the card in the bin, which is good. So,
well, that's good. That's really good. That's good, like, progress then with that client.
Yeah, but I think some people, if they're not ready, like these guys probably would have been happy to never be ready, but they got themselves in such a pickle that they had to take action, right?
Yeah.
And, but otherwise, people, what I was saying is that people are also pumped up, and I'm going, holy crap, I'm like, this business model, this is going to be amazing, because everyone's so engaged that I'm going to have these clients forever. Like, they will never leave. But what I've found is that we actually have like a 20% drop-off rate, which is fairly high. But 5% of them are people that their stuff changes, and they no longer need our service. But you have 15% of people that just don't want to commit.
Don't want to do it,
which is a shame, because people are spending, $5,000 for a financial plan, and then time goes on and they realise that, oh shit, I'm not prepared to put in the work.
And they're probably the ones that need it the most.
For sure, absolutely.
So that's been one of the challenges in starting the business. One of the things I wanted to do was work with our age group. One of the most important things is that. But I'm finding it hard to make it stick. With my experience being with like high net worths and people that are about to retire, it's not a conversation generally about Uber Eats. It's different conversation. So that's been the challenge, I think, and that's what I'm still working at.
Well, I was saying just before to another person that we had on the podcast that just go speak to 5 advisors and then pick the best bits from each and what works for you, and give it a crack.
Yeah, well, I'll do that. My homework.
Speak to Clayton. Clayton Daniel is the boss of Cashflow.
Right, okay.
I basically just stole his system and gave it some detail, given because his level of detail is up here. So
all right, I'll hit him up.
It's a journey, but it's a worthwhile one. I think the Cashflow stuff is super important for actually getting people results, and it makes it easy for you to see that they're getting stuff as well.
And it also, if they're not doing that, then they're not going to you can't really recommend anything like investments or anything like.
Well, if they don't have a plan, their strategies work. Because if you don't know that, people go, oh yeah, I save $1,000 a month.
And if you only invest that and they're actually only save $500, then that's going to be not going to work out. So
it's the future. It's the future, people.
Yeah.
So what would you say for somebody that's clearly spent a lot of time sort of formulating the business and model and offer and now sort of a few months in, what would be your top tip for somebody that was thinking of either launching their own thing or trying to reshape their service within an existing business? Or working with inside a business trying to create their sort of unique offering?
That's a big question. That's a hard one.
Well, what do you think the most important thing to get right is to create a compelling service offering?
I think for me, I really just wanted to like connect with people and feel like I was able to like really make a difference in their lives. So I guess for me, I've been just trying to figure out what is actually going to make, have a bit of an impact for people. Trying to really think about, like, as a consumer of all sorts of services, what wows me and what excites me, and therefore, like, and how can I do that? So, like, when, like, occasionally it happens and you get you have like a sales experience and it just like blows your mind, and you're like, that was so much easier than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
The example I'm thinking of right now is my website developer, right? So I was like sort of looking at different website developers and trying to decide who to go with, and I ended up going with this girl, Kath Hughes, at Face Creative. So she's awesome if anyone's looking for someone. But her
What is it? Face Creative?
Face Creative.
Face Creative.
And this service I used was called Live by 5.
Right.
And so that was where basically I sat down with her and she tutored me in how to build a WordPress website, which was Live by 5.
Right. Wow.
Which was great.
Yeah.
But what happened initially to sign up with her was so seamless. Like, I received, so I said, yeah, sounds good. We had a conversation on the phone. She sent me a proposal and it was like digital signature, here's your payment details, all of your terms and conditions. Like, it just was like tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
And that whole sign-up process, which in my experience as a financial advisor, could take like 2 meetings or 3 meetings and signatures and scanning stuff, and you forgot to do this and blah, 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 was done like just through this click, 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 click.
Yeah.
And I just thought that makes me so happy as someone who's about to use her services, to not, particularly because I was at home and didn't have a printer, didn't have a scanner, all that sort of stuff, to just be able to do it so easily really impressed me. And actually everything about her service has been really easy.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell that she puts a lot of effort into removing any friction whatsoever.
Awesome.
And that for me was like, that's kind of what I want to do for clients. Like, I just want to make it as easy as possible for them to work with me, because I think that'll make, that I think would make them pleased as clients. It also probably means it's easy for me to work with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a kind of a roundabout answer. But I guess that's sort of how I'm trying to think about things in this early stage with the business is, okay, this is how I've always done things. But how does the client see this, and do they value it?
You're going to throw it out the window, right?
Is it good, or is it just what we do?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think that you want to rethink and go, well, if we were starting from scratch, what would that look like? Instead of saying, well, this is what we do, well, how do we make it better? But I also think that these days now we're not, you've got to reduce that friction from what you do, because people just won't. They'll tolerate it to a degree, but if it gets too hard, and arguably it's historically been way too hard, that people just fail. Yeah,
and often not even intentionally. It's not like they've made a conscious decision and said, you know what, I've had enough of this back and forth over email. I'm going to cease this now. They might still have good intentions. They might still be like, I want to work with her.
Yeah.
But it's all just become too hard and life's gotten too busy, and then you get like bumped down the list, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'll get to that, and then it's like, oh, I left that a long time, and then I'll forget about it.
Doesn't happen.
So stuff like that I'm trying to just be really conscious of.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool. And look, I think some great tips there, and I reckon you talk about the challenges of starting a small business all day, but a couple of quick ones for you before we wrap up. What was your biggest stuff up or mistake or oops moment?
So I had my business name and logo, as I said to you, one of the first things I did. So I got everything organised. Website was about to go live. Business cards were in the mail. Company name registered. Everything. My husband, I didn't know at the time, but he'd organised for my mum and my sisters to come around and have champagne with me for like a little launch. Yeah. And it's all literally just about to press a button. And my stepdad, who's a lawyer, called and was like, Rach, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? And he said, there's a business with the same name as you doing the same thing on the other side of Sydney, like in Sydney City.
Oh, no.
And I was like, and he was like, it was like, you can't you can't do this. And I had missed it because it had taken me, as I said, the 6 months to actually go from like coming up with a name to actually launching.
Yeah.
And in that time they had, I guess maybe they'd been around for not very long, but maybe they were kind of a few pages back in Google searches.
Right.
And so I hadn't kind of found them. Anyway, so that felt a bit like running into a glass door.
Yeah.
And I just was like, stopped. Like everything just stopped in its tracks. And so, I had to come up with a new name, new logo, all of that sort of stuff, having, spent months putting it all together. So that was like a massive boost moment.
Yeah.
And I felt like the biggest idiot and I was devastated. But live and learn. And I'm actually, I think the new name works better anyway. So
what was the old name?
The old name was Flourix Wealth.
Okay.
And the new one's Flourix.
Yeah, I like it.
So, it's... good lesson, like, do your homework. Figure out if anyone is already doing the same thing with the same name in the same city.
For sure, the IP thing's a big one, and especially there's so much out there these days as well. So.
Yeah. So, that was. And I ended up coming up with a name which was just a made-up word, as you know now.
Yeah.
So that helped because the domain was available, the word's unique. It's not like, it's not a crowded kind of little spot around that, that word. There's only, so many words in the English language that, you can use. So, having something made up worked.
Nice. I like it.
Better.
Yeah, cool.
But that was a rough day.
I can imagine. Good. So, next question: What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've had so much good advice, to be honest. You've got me on the spot.
Don't say the tips that I gave you about posting photos on. So.
Yeah. I guess the best piece of advice I've had was just to take it slow, not get ahead of myself in terms of taking on more clients than I can manage and dropping the ball, particularly with the juggle going on with home and work. I'm really conscious of not burning out because I do have a lot on my plate right now. I'm not sleeping most nights, the kids are still up and stuff like that. So just keeping the workload coming in at the right pace so that I'm not blowing, so I don't crash and burn basically.
Very important. I've got this to learn with the new family coming on, but it's sanity is very important because it allows you to do your job better. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and enjoy everything as well. So I'm no good to anyone if I'm, in the fetal position in the corner crying. Under the desk.
Hiding. So that's the one.
Nice. And last question: what's your spirit animal?
Oh God, what's my spirit animal? It's not a really good spirit animal, to be honest, but do you remember your dreams, like when you wake up in the morning?
Sometimes. I had a dream the other night that Yang and I had our kid, and then we both looked at him, and we don't know what the sex is, but I was a boy, and we both looked at him and said, it looks like a Benjamin. And we called the kid Benjamin. And I was like, Yang, I woke up and I had this dream. She said, we are not fucking doing that.
So my spirit animal.
I'm still leaning towards maybe
Benjamin. It's creative. I dream about whales all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So I don't know what
sort
means.
of killer whale or
all different sorts, all
really?
the whales,
multiple different types of whales.
Humpback whales, I don't know. It's just one
Whoa,
of these things.
you are twisted.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? That's me.
Nice. Well, Rach, thank you very much for taking the time. Some absolute gold there. So I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.